these are some of the best places that you really feel privileged to be here and give a presentation on how we can effectively use these technologies for our benefit as a teacher. So I'll talk about that. Then I'll talk about a new concept, which is education harmony. So this is a new concept. How do you harmonize education? Harmony is a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful concept. It tells you how everything fits into place. So we want to see how education allows us to be happy. I don't like to go in a classroom. I have so much problem, this problem, that problem. And on top of that, I have to do things which I'm not really supposed to do. I want to teach and then walk out and see my results. Am I a good teacher? Yes or no? Not doing many mechanical things which can be automated. So that's the harmony I talk about, the happiness to be in the class. Not when you walk out of the class and you say, oh my God, I don't want to go back, The new tool. The new tool that would allow us to automate and self-regulate and automatically analyze the colossal amount of data, the big data, at a press of a button. That's the way it should be. And then we'll do results and conclusion, and then ask me any questions, and you can interrupt me by all means. So I'll just start with this one first. Stakeholders. There's a beautiful cat. I love cats. My daughter has 2 cats, so I thought I'll add a picture there. Stakes are too high. In education, stakes are just too high. I pay for my daughter's fee, I pay for my son's fee, and I want good results. They don't know this because they're young. It's my responsibility to make sure that they get good education and the money that we pay is worth that money. So the stakes are very high. The students, the future depends on it. If I did not do my PhD, I would not be here. I would still be in the UK. I grew up in the UK. I was in the UK since the age of 5. So I know the value of education. The people who did not study, unfortunately, they wish they had studied. But when you're young, you're excited. You want to drive a car, you want to have a drink, and you want to have discos and enjoy yourself. But, it's our responsibility to make sure that the student, they get the quality education that they deserve. The teachers, we love our job. I love my job. I love teaching, to be honest. But I don't like to teach. That's a contradictory, isn't it? I love to teach. I don't like to teach, but what did I say? See, contradiction. I love to teach, but I don't want to teach. The problem is because of the circumstances, So I'll talk about that a bit later. And the parents, the money that they give, investors, the equity, the government, the jobs, the creation of the job, the whole thing is very high stake game. Really, it's like gambling. If you don't do the job properly, it's like gambling. You really mess up everything. So high stake for everybody. So what's the problem if we got these smart technology, we got the video camera, you got live streaming, you got smart board, you got iPad, you got apps, you got a whole bunch of things that you constantly have on all the time at your fingertips. So what's the problem? So the problem really is this. This is a major problem. This is a major, major, major problem. Tracking. How do you track everything that you do in the classroom? You can have video cameras like that. But who's going to sit down and analyze that video camera? You would rather be watching a movie than watching somebody else teaching and then making comments. Oh, very bad teaching, very good teaching. Maybe you should improve. So again, it's a problem. Tracking, teaching, and learning is very, very hard. Once you close that door, nobody knows how you teach. Only the camera knows how you teach. And who is going to sit down and watch that camera to tell you whether you've done a good job or bad job? That's subjective. So these are the things that we track. And I hate them, to be honest. But they're very important. It's like taking medicine. You hate taking medicine, but it's good for your body. If you're sick, medicine is good for your body. But you hate going to the doctors. I know that. You rather suffer for 1 or 2 days thinking that you recover, but you don't. National Qualification Framework, we've got the PLOs, Programming Learning Outcomes, the Course Learning Outcome. The whole pedagogy is based on these principles. The National Qualification from Estonia, the Bologna Framework, the Emirates Qualification Framework. All the countries that have National Qualification Framework that tells us what the standards are and how they should be taught as a guideline. And then within the program that you have, like physics, chemistry, biology, you have program learning outcome, which you must cover. Then you have the syllabus. I want to spend a bit more time on this so we really understand what the problem is and why is it so hard to track. The course learning outcome, where do you find the course learning outcome? Where do you find the course learning outcome? Yeah, exactly. And when you have a syllabus, they give you the syllabus. In the syllabus, you read the description, you read after you have done this course, you should be able to do this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 learning outcome. And then you have to produce evidence like Professor Marco said. And then you have chapter learning outcome. If you look at a book, a textbook, in each chapter, they said, after the chapter, you have these learning outcomes. So now you extrapolate in your head. This one, PLOs maybe by 20, CLOs by 6, and then each chapter in a book, maybe 10 chapters, each chapter has 6 learning outcomes, that's 60 learning outcomes, 60 plus 8 plus 20 plus, it's a huge number. How did you track that? You can't. I tell you can't. The weightage of the learning outcome. Now you have to say, okay, this is an engineering course. The weightage for mathematics should be 30%. The weightage for narration, example, maybe 20%. The basis for knowledge, maybe 10%, but more mathematical because it's engineering. So that's the weightage of each of the learning outcomes. You can't just say, okay, I want to teach learning outcome 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, finish. No. You have to weight them appropriately, relatively weight. And then even a bigger heading. Even you got a bigger heading, which is Bloom's taxonomy. You got 6 different subsections of knowledge. And then within that you have to use active verbs. Oh my God, you're going crazy then. And then you got solar taxonomy, how you progressively go from basic concept to intermediate concept, and then to advanced concept, and then to research. Higher level of thinking from the basic level to intermediate to advanced to research level. And then you have use of technology. Oh, shall I use WhatsApp today to teach, or shall I send them a text message for the video, let them watch a video? Or shall I do a flip classroom? Or shall I use a smartboard? Or shall I use iPad? Or shall I use smartphone? How many technologies are you going to use, and which are more effective and which are not? How do you know? Unless you have evidence. And then you have blended learning, you the traditional with the whiteboard, smartboard, and the projector. Student participation, big problem. If there are 20 students, how can you keep track? Oh yeah, I asked that young lady, the question next class, you forget. How do you track student participation, student engagement, working them in a group? So how do you track that? So on top of this, we have a lot of admin work. I love this. When I say I love it, I hate it, but if it's done by somebody else, then I love it. Because it really is the flesh and the bone of your body. And then on top of that, they give you admin work. Okay, organize a seminar today. Okay, organize a conference today. Okay, student advising, this advising. There's a whole bunch of activities that you do apart from your regular teaching. So teaching is a very hard work profession. I guarantee you that. And I'm sure you know because you're teachers. So what can we do about it? So this is the problem. So like this cat is saying, oh my God. So it's really frightening. So now, in order to really solve the problem, we have to understand what do we measure. So we first quantify things. What do we measure? Let's systematically go through the whole thing as a science exercise to see what are the issues and how we can do that. Automation is the key. If you remember, the key word is automation. Self-regulation, the words Professor Marcus used are fantastic, to be honest. He mentioned very important words, massive data. You can't sleep at night because, have I checked my email? Have I done this? Have I marked all the assignment of the students? Have I given them all the learning outcome? Did I cover this? Did I, and then on top of that, you have admin work. So, automation, self-regulating things that you can improve, and the third is the massive data. So 3 keywords. So the first thing that we need to measure is what are the key KPIs. Academic KPIs. Key performance indicators. How come all businesses, if you work in a business, they have KPIs, deliverables. Tomorrow you have to give this. Day after tomorrow you have to do that. The whole deliverable is completely defined. You know why they do that? Because it's business. They make a lot of money. So they have to be very, very efficient. If they're not efficient, Donald Trump would not be where he is now. So in business, they care about money, they care about everything, so they're very, very precise. So all business has KPIs. Education, we have these KPIs. You can add more if you want, depending on your circumstances. It's open. I'll give a few examples just to indicate that we need to understand these KPIs and how do we automate it. Not mechanically calculate by sitting down with Excel, with this sheet, with that sheet. Yes, sir.
I have a question. When I look at these KPIs, and you were just saying one stakeholder is the students who work well. But none of the KPIs have anything to do with what the student actually learns, how much more you gain after learning. But it's actually nothing about the techniques.
Very important question, to be honest. Really very important question. And I'm very happy that he picked it up. I'll give you a very simple example. If I'm teaching in a classroom, if I don't cover the syllabus, if I don't cover the course material, say there are 10 chapters, week 1, chapter 1, week 2, chapter 2, week 3, chapter 3, and so on. So I have to cover the whole syllabus, right? Or at least 90%, give and take 10%. But you can't cover 30% of the syllabus and say, I've done my job, right? So now, who are you delivering that course to? The student. If the student has been taught only 30% of the course, do you think they will get a job? If you're doing computer engineering, for example, you are only taught 30% of the course, and when they go for an interview, they ask you to make a transistor or make a compiler. Will they be able to understand? No, because they haven't covered that in the classroom. So what you're saying is right, 100%. That is covered here, for example, course coverage. So the lecturer has to cover the whole syllabus, or at least 90% of the syllabus, not 30%, 20%, 80%. At least minimum 90%. There's a minimum standard. So if you don't teach them, how do you know? What do you expect them to get a job? They won't. So the student. Now the other side. How do we know that the student have learned something? I'll come to that later. But thank you very much for that very nice question. I'll say a few more things. Second one is learning outcome coverage. Did you cover them? When they ask me at the end of the semester, normally I say, yes, I've covered all of them. Did you cover them really good? I said, whoa, fantastic. I've done all of them. But you haven't really done it. And you know that. Student engagement. Did you ask every student question to encourage them, let them talk to each other? Student participation, how do you keep track of that? And then if you go through all the lists, you will see that there's a number of KPIs, teaching style, the one we were just discussing now, the pedagogy, even that one is covered. And of course, you can add more things that you want, as long as you're happy that these are the KPIs for your university, for your national qualification framework, for your program, then it's fine. If you want to reduce them, that's fine. You can have 7, you can have 10, you can have 20. But overall, they are at least, I calculated about 24 KPIs that we must track. I want to ask you a question. Is old information good information? Is it valuable? Old information. Like, for example, the stock market. If you do stocks. Old information is useless. Maybe the stocks, Apple went down today because, iPhone did not sell properly. Now, if I had known that 1 minute before, I would have taken money out, or I would have invested the other way. So I would have made money. But after the information has been already finished, that information is useless. Let me give you an example in a classroom. If some of the students are doing bad, when do you give them feedback? Normally during the class year, but the real feedback comes once they get the grade at the end of the whole session. That's too late for them. The damage is already done because you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't do that. So I'm putting the blame on the teachers. I'll tell you why. So the students suffer. So the best thing is, if you have the data, it should be real time. The data must be produced in real time. That means I'm giving the lecture, the data is already producing the results from your teaching. Not at the end of the semester or the middle of the semester or next semester. No, it should be real time. After every lecture, you should get feedback. Every lecture, you should get feedback. Oh, I've done the job nicely. Oh, I did not do properly. Oh, I did not cover this. So it covers everything, but in real time. So the key word now is automation and real time. Okay, so again, we don't want to go through all of these. The last one is accountability. The fourth one, that's where you analyze the data at the end of the day. Some people, they don't like this slide because now, sometimes you have to be bold and brave and tell the truth. Teachers, types of teachers. Some teachers are very good. Some teachers are wonderful. They put so much effort in teaching. Really fantastic. They do everything like the book. They're very good, very good. They do everything meticulously. Like I knew one lady in Dubai, she was so thorough that, you just say, wow, how can she actually do that? It's like a robot, Very focused, fantastic, good results, and she loved it. Unfortunately, some are weak. I consider myself in that category, weak. Although I've got 25 years of experience, but I consider I'm weak. You know why? The more you know, the less effectively you teach because you can play around with the system. So you become lazy, complacent, laid back, lax. You don't have to abuse the system. So those are weak teachers, but they need pushing a little bit. Oh, you've done this. Real time. Oh, please improve this. A bit here, a bit here. So it's a feedback loop. So self-regulation, feedback loop. So weak teachers will improve themselves with the system. So we don't abandon them. We don't tell them, okay, you're right. So this is good. This is weak. We can improve them. They want to improve, but they don't have the opportunity because nobody tells them. So because it's too administrative, very time-consuming. So the system will tell them, oh, hello, you haven't done this KPI. Hello, you haven't done this KPI. Oh, maybe you should have done this. So the system will tell you that please do this every day. Then there are bad teachers, and I know them, a lot of them. Okay, they don't give a damn. They don't care. They're just there because they, maybe, that's it. They can abuse the system. They will never change. Okay? They will never change. And I've known I know good teachers, weak teachers, and bad teachers. Majority, they fall within the weak teachers. So it's a bell curve in the middle, that's where we are. But we need a little bit push, support. I don't want to calculate all these learning outcomes. At the end, I said, I've done all of this, I've done this, I covered the whole syllabus, done everything. Okay. So we can't really improve these guys because they're not there for teaching. So the stakes are too high, by the way. So in America, for example, they terminate the teachers if they find effectiveness is that they're teaching, they're not producing the results. Okay, I'll go a little bit faster now. So the general concept is a lot of data, KPIs, tracking them automatically, and in real time. Now, another word, which is feedback. Real-time feedback. So these are the key words. It's like the car industry. If you remember from your history lessons, before they used to make the cars like Ford in America. Each person would do the whole thing, from the tires to the body to the shape and everything. And then they introduced the automated conveyor belt system where the car parts will move like this. Each guy will do the thing. So the whole thing was automated. So they could produce a car every 1 minute. So the automation, the Industrial Revolution was based on automation. Without the automation, impossible. So those are the keywords. So I'll move a little bit faster now. So these are the standards. I already talked about that. It's not us who put the standard, it's the big guys, the VIPs on the top, who decide through our consultation, say, okay, this is the syllabus, this is based on the PLO is based on the National Qualification Framework, the National Qualification on the learning theories, the learning pedagogies, from Bloom's taxonomy, the whole bunch of things are eventually goes down to that level where we are given a syllabus and then you teach to the syllabus. So it's the minimum standard. You can't, like the gentleman was saying, you can't go minimum than that. You have to cover that at least 90%. If you cover 80%, it's bad. 70%, very good. Less than 50%, you should not be teaching because you're really killing that child who is sitting in that classroom. When they go for a job, they will never get a job because they haven't done the material. Okay, second, so yeah, KPIs, number 2, type of teachers, number 3, standards, number 4, this is a very important slide again. All the method that you use now to check the effectiveness of teachers, that the gentleman was saying, all the method that you use now to check, is the teacher good, is the teacher bad, are subjective. Keyword here is subjective. Who will give you that evaluation? You know how they do it? Like when I was teaching at University of London, I used to teach at King's College London. So they would come in twice a year in the semester, sit down for like half an hour, evaluate me, and then give me comment, checkbox. Clarity of speech, blah, 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 checkbox. That's it. If I buy him a drink, maybe give me a better result. So it's all subjective. Maybe he likes me. Or maybe she likes me. So it's all subjective. There's no real results. And this is very common, by the way. So you suck up to your boss. Here's your boss. You take him to the dentist. He will give you, oh, this guy is very good. You buy him a coffee in the canteen. Oh, I remember that. And then each of us will do a certain to get a good mark. So we call that popularity contest. In America, they call that popularity contest. If you're good at talking, you can get away with murder in the class. If you like be nice with the boss, PR skills are good, you can get away with anything. They'll give you good marks. Students, give them good marks and they will give you good appraisal. So it's all subjective. I know, if I give good marks to the students, 90% they will give me good marks. The problem starts when you give them C's and D's. They come knocking on your door. Even in India. Why did you give me C? I deserve much better than that. I'm an A student. So it's all subjective. You can play around with the system. So, teaching to the test. If I wanted to prove that the student got very good results in the exam, it's very easy for me to do that. I know the system. I've been teaching for 25 years. I know the system. I can play around with the system. Give them good marks. Look, I've done a very good job because the students have done good, like the gentleman was saying. Look, they've got 94%. Most of my students are above average. It's very easy to do that. And you know, you teach them to the test. So you only teach a little bit, whatever you want to teach, and then give them the test based on that. And they, of course, they're going to get good results. So 80% of the syllabus you don't cover, 20% you cover. With the 20% you put the test, and then they get good results in the test. You show that to your boss, and your boss is happy, you give you a good grade. Bias appraisal from the supervisor, student feedback, that post portfolio, you can fabricate everything. I'm going to one extreme to the other. To get a good appraisal, we often need to suck up to the boss. So how do we eliminate these problems? So the problem now, another key word, is subjective. That means I'm biased. I have an opinion. I like you, I'm going to give you a good grade. You bought me a coffee the other day, you bought me a drink, you took me for dinner, you took my family to the zoo. I want to be nice to you. You stretch my back, I stretch your back. Next time you become the boss, like Tony Blair, and I don't want to be politics, but this is how to do it. You stretch my back, I'll stretch your back next time. You protect me, I'll protect you. All subjective. But it's very unfair to the student who are paying their money, who are sitting in the class, making effort, getting up in the morning, coming to the class, and then you are abusing them. What authority do you have to abuse them? No authority. You're being paid for the job, you should do your job properly. If you're a good teacher, stay in the class. If you're a bad teacher, leave. But we have to have evidence. And that evidence has to be non-subjective. A real evidence. I'll give you an example. When I was growing up in England, when I was young, so I used to drive a little bit faster when you're young. So at that time, they didn't have those speed cameras. So the policeman used to see, are you on the bus line or not? So they used to take note, and they had this pointer. They point, and then he's speeding a little bit. And then you have a chance to appeal. So when they give you a ticket, saying you have to pay fine because you're speeding, there's no real evidence. Even that machine, it was not very accurate. So it's your word against the policeman. So that was subjective. Because most of those police guys, even now, they're on commission. The more people you catch, the more money you make. So there was ambiguity. There's no hard evidence. But now what did they do? They put the speed cameras. If you're speeding, they take a picture. Is this you? Yeah, it's me. Your speed is this? The camera doesn't lie. The camera doesn't lie. So those are real evidence. They are not subjective, they are objective methods. So we will look at how to eliminate the problem. So now we're going from subjective method to objective method. To get the real results, not biased results or your opinion or other people's opinion. By the way, there's many other projects that we're trying to do this. Many other projects. One of them is the MET. It's called Measuring Effectiveness of Teachers. Measuring Effectiveness of Teachers by Bill Gates. We all know Bill Gates, right? Yeah. Richest man in the world 14 times. 14 years. So Bill Gates, he did a project about 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It's called MET. If you Google that MET project, you will get a lot of literature. He spent 350 million more plus to do this project over 3 years in the USA to find out what we are trying to do, all of us together, which is from analytics. How do you find whether you are a good teacher, you're a bad teacher, you're a poor teacher? So how do you measure the effectiveness of teacher? Measuring effectiveness of teaching. Tom came from Harvard University. He was the project principal, project leader. And they came up with a number of solutions. Again, they were all subjective. So I don't want to go through that, but you can read. The documents are that much. And then Google, Samsung, Apple, Facebook, the whole world is into it now because the problem is, like Professor Martin said, there's just too much data. What's the point of having all these beautiful technologies if you can't really use them effectively? What's the point of having a car when you can't drive? So everybody's into it. They know there's a lot of data and stakes are high. They need to produce good students who are good in STEM education, which is a big word now, STEM. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It's a big, massive thing. The whole world is doing it. They want to educate engineers, thinkers, not mechanical robots. The first step, again, like the gentleman said, is the teacher. The teacher has to be good. If the teacher is not good, what do you expect of the students, no? The teacher before the car. The horse before the car. So, everybody's into it. Everybody's into analytics. Everybody's into analytics. United Nations, we're doing a very big project for United Nations. These are Sustainable Development Goals. Before they were called Millennium Development Goals. They could not achieve the target, so now they call them Sustainable Development Goals. Education is one of the key goals in this, which is from the United Nations. They want to centralize the whole education aspect that, we can manage that. Quality is important, equity is important, and accountability is important. So these are massive projects going on around the world. Big organizations are involved. So how do we solve this problem now? First you need a bird's eye view. It's just like the university I showed you. This is where I live. I don't live there. This part of the world I live, in Dubai. Okay, huge infrastructure, a lot of money and everything. Okay, again, technology doesn't buy you good education, so they have the same problem, massive problem. It doesn't buy you good education. They've got the tallest building. I'm originally from Pakistan. I've been there for the last 10 years. I was in Canada for about 6 years, so I've been moving around 2 years in Africa. So, when I went there, we had the same kind of problems. Quality of education is not there. We can have all of these wonderful technologies, but there's no guarantee. So we need to look at the bird's eye view of education. This is a real picture. You can see these boards right there. And we were just talking about it, Professor Marcos, that board is similar to these ones here. This is at Harvard, about 25 years ago. This is Professor Mazil, Professor of Education from Harvard. So he gave me that picture. He did a fantastic presentation at one of the conferences where I met him. He introduced the concept of peer instruction. We wrote a book on it. So he was giving this lecture, so I stole that picture from him, and I told him I want to use that. He agreed. And he was saying that 25 years ago he's teaching like that. He said, today I'm still teaching like that. But, sorry, he has changed, but other people are still teaching like that. So where is that evolution of education? The whole world changes. How come education is the status quo? So he showed that picture, and today we are teaching the same. But things are changing now. Now we have, student-centered learning rather than teacher-centered learning. So this is the bird's eye view of teaching. And his method is more interactive. So you can generate data, and again, real time. And he really did an amazing presentation that really, I enjoyed it. I don't like sitting in a presentation especially in physics, I'm a physicist. The same story. But that presentation, the way he interacted with the students, it wasn't students, it was us, conference. It was amazing. Digital education conference, that was in the one about 2 years ago. So it was very good. So I'll go a little bit. So in nature, so the key word here now is harmony. Okay, to make us happy about teaching, to make us comfortable about teaching. So in nature, harmony, we can see the whole world is in a beautiful shape, right? We leave it as on path to follow. Color, comfortable to the eye, easy, and everything seems to fit well into the bigger scale of things. We don't get meteors coming to destroy us. We've got the sun at the right distance. The whole evolutionary path of nature is beautiful. That's harmony. Similarly, in education, harmony is these words: coordination, acuity. That every student in the world deserves a good education. Scalability, that what you do here, it should be scalable. Technology would allow us to do that. Accountability, affordability, it has to be cheap. A lot of research in this area, which is all related to analytics. So these are the things that really allow us to make us happy in education. It should be fun and exciting, more time for preparation for the lecture, less time tracking the objective evaluation, no sucking up to your boss, meeting all education standards. So a whole bunch of things. They're fitting together. Okay, how do we fit that together? That's a challenge. Okay, nature harmony, like I thought, the whole thing is such a beautiful, ecosystem. If you take the ecosystem away from the equilibrium, what happens? It goes through changes, and then again it stabilizes. So that means it's very robust. It adapts. Our education system, they don't adapt very easily. Very hard to push technology. But nature harmony is based on that. Education harmony is based on three things. Everybody gets education. They should get education, which is the goal of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Okay, where the agenda is 93 million children should be in school, not on the streets. Everybody should get education, and they should get quality education. Otherwise, what's the point of having education when you can't get a job? They don't produce quality. And then accountability. How do you account for that good education? Accountability will guarantee this and that if it's done properly. So this is the main emphasis about education harmony. Integration of all these three things. How much time do we have? If you're getting bored, please let me know, because I have been talking about many things, and I appreciate it for you to raise any questions, especially with the devil's advocate. Oh, this is wrong, this is wrong. A good fight is good fight. And now I'm talking about those things which will make you ask questions. That part was introduction. Now we know the problem, we give it a solution. This is where you will say, oh, this is wrong. Big brother is watching you. Those kind of things. Where do we teach? In a classroom. Okay, we know that. Once you're in a classroom, it's a black box. Once you're in a classroom, it's a black box. We don't know what goes in the classroom. Now you have cameras, even those are redundant. No use, really, to be honest, unless somebody goes in, watch that video and make sure that everything's done, they pick up the syllabus. How do you know by watching the video? You can't. The classroom, for all practical purposes, is still black box. The student, they don't know whether I'm teaching the right stuff, did I make enough effort with you? So it's a black box. And the principle is what you can't measure. If it's a black hole, you don't know what's inside it. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. A common business terminology that's been used for many decades. So if you can't measure anything, we can't quantify it. If you can't quantify it, you can't manage it, right? So what's the objective of the software that we have, the concept that we have developed? We want to convert the black holes into semi-transparent box and eventually to a fully transparent box. So yesterday it's like that, but today it's like with a video camera. If you really want to dig in, analyze it for 16 lectures, you can go and watch the video and really find out, get the full file and do that. You can do it, okay? But it's going to take you more time than, for you to actually teach. So at the moment we are here. Tomorrow it's going to be fully transparent. So you can't hide. If you're a bad lecturer, you'll be known. If you're a good lecturer, you'll enjoy it. If you're a weak lecturer, you can improve. If you're a weak lecturer, this is the most common, which is the bell curve. Most of us are weak because we don't know feedback. Okay, so here is the software now. Okay, the software. How do we teach at the moment? If I ask a question, how 90% of the people use what for teaching? Is it PowerPoint presentation? Right? Some don't, but 95%, I think, this is the number from the internet, 95% of the people, they use PowerPoint. Even if they don't, it doesn't matter. But I'm just saying generally, like you put a presentation and then you walk around and then give them assignment, but there is some kind of a PowerPoint presentation in the background to help you continue with the lecture. This tool is not the right tool for teaching. Bill Gates will hate me for that, because that's his product for the last 20 years. And it's a beautiful product, I love it. But it's not the right tool. It's very passive, there's no interaction. Now, I'm doing the presentation now. Now, if I want to say, okay, can you answer this question, please? What has the PowerPoint done to tell me that I've asked this question to Marcus, this question, this question? Sorry?
Yeah. You can have online discussions, you can have feedback, you can have questions about class participation. It is possible that those people that don't know how to manage costs.
I like to see that. Those built-in functions, you can even make your function using macros. I know, but you can't capture the analytics from this. If you give me an example, then I can talk with you. Because I know I've been doing this for the last long time now. But I would be very much interested if there is a way. But I will show you what we've done, and then you can have a better idea. So PowerPoint is good for presentation like I am giving, one way. It's monologue, one way. It's not good for teaching. Good for presentation like this, business, seminars, speeches, or maybe, it's very good. But for teaching, it's not. So it's very generic, used for all purposes, and 95% of the education, they use PowerPoint. Some places more, some places. So it's not the right tool. So I'll tell you why it's not the right tool. One of the reasons is that it doesn't have the engine at the back that would allow you to automate the teaching and learning. It's like having a car without the petrol. You have a car, beautiful car, Mercedes or BMW or Bentley, or you can have this wonderful car. If you have no petrol, it's useless. So this one is a fantastic application, but it doesn't do the things that we want: automation, self-regulation, analytics, feedback. So it's the wrong tool. Fantastic product. Hammer trying to put a screw in a shop. We can't do it. Okay. So this is the basis of what we are doing. So we need to solve a problem. So now we've identified all the KPIs, what we need to do. Forget the subjectivity, we need objectivity measurement. and it has done real-time, automatic, all of that. So for that, we should not reinvent the management system. Like another management system like Moodle, learning management system. Moodle is a learning management system. Canvas is a learning management system. Blackboard is a learning management. And if you Google it, you'll find hundreds. And they've been around for like 20 years. When I was in Canada, we were working on that. That should be very strong analytics. So these are the things that we want in the system. So we have developed a software. Still a lot of research needs to be done, especially the data collection. There are a lot of areas. So we have developed a system. It's called A360. A means analytics. 360 does everything that you need for the classroom. It's non-intrusive. There's no cameras, but you can have cameras to validate some of the things. So it doesn't affect your teaching. It's real time. It's automatic, objective, scalable, and adaptable. So these are wonderful things. This is our software. Okay, this is how it looks. Okay. By the way, it's very simple. It's not a rocket science. The software is very simple. Simpler, the better. People think, how can this do all the stuff? I will tell you how. It's very simple. You can see this is still a PowerPoint, isn't it? You've got the PowerPoint presentation here. What we have done, we've integrated, these are annotation tools which you get with any smartboard. So nothing special up here. These are annotation tools you get smartboard. But there's extra features that will capture what you've done with those tools. You have analytics here, which is called business intelligence, and then you've got all the teaching and learning tools here, pedagogy, student participation, guest lectures, learning outcome, PLOs, SLOs, everything is in this menu. If you want to introduce, let's say, flipped classroom, a new method that you want to use for your teaching, you can customize that for the flipped classroom. It will track everything that you do when you press that button. So what we have done, very simple idea by the way, it's not a rocket science. The algorithm is at the back that tracks everything, what you do with this PowerPoint. Okay? Now the normal PowerPoint, it doesn't have these tools. You can hide them if you want. But once you're in the classroom, how you interact with these tools is being captured. I'll give you an example, very simple example. Like, for example, I want to do student participation, which is easy. So now, I automatically have a list of students coming to the right. I press the button, and every button that I press or I interact, I hope that something is being calculated at the back end to capture the evolution of that lecture as soon as you walk in and the time that you leave. Okay, everything, all the interaction. Okay, so the concept is very simple. It's the algorithm that links them together, the learning outcome, the PLO, the CLO, student participation, the weightage. Now you don't need to calculate anything of that. Okay, scalable, that you can have one in another campus, two lecturers teaching the same course, one in this university, one in Callum University, teaching, let's say, mathematics 101. So you can compare, okay, this guy used this method to teach numerical analysis, this guy did for this guy did this. So you can do comparative analysis of the data worldwide. So we have patented this in the US and the UK, patent pending. The software is very hard to patent. So we have a lot of issues because to do a software patent is very hard, very, very hard. So it's still pending, but we have registered that. So again, let me just re-emphasize, annotation tool, which is straightforward. But when you interact with this annotation tool, it captures how you interact with it, what you wrote, where you wrote, and all of that. The business reports, and then all the different methodologies that you want to teach, like group studies, case studies, peer interaction, all of that is being captured while you interact with the system. So now the software adapts with any kind of teaching theories. SCORM, your National Qualification Framework, Socrates method, which is inquiry-based learning, rather than giving them the information, you say, oh, why is the sky blue? It has that, and it captures that, what percentage of the time that you use this method to teach, what percentage of the method you use Bloom's taxonomy, what word you use, all of that, flipped classroom, and so on. Any teaching, learning methodology can be customized in the system very easily. And it tracks it, how you've interacted with it. So we gave it a name just to make it more fancy, just to make it a little bit fun. A buzzword, we call it Internet of Teaching Elements. Not the Internet of Things, which is a new technology. Before the Internet, now the Internet of Things, and now what we call it the Internet of Teaching Elements. When you teach, you have resources, right? You have smartphones, you have cameras, you have iPad, you have mobile phones, you have YouTube, you have applications, you have apps. You have all of these things at your disposal. You have them. But did you use them or not? So for example, group-based learning, problem-based learning, holds everywhere. So many different pedagogies, annotation, national qualification framework, profiling, standards, any hardware or software, assessment, content. The new technology which we have been asked to integrate now, or we're working with a number of companies now, is augmented reality, which is wonderful. When you teach these students, they wear these glasses, and with 3 dimensions they can manipulate things. And they love it. They really love it. So when we did a demo, I put the glasses on, so we were doing anatomy, which is, dissecting the body. So we press that button, now it's being recorded. You've done this, and now you're learning this. And so we were manipulating 3-dimensional, the skull, taking the skin off, then the next bit off, you put them back. It was really, really amazing. What an experience. So we integrated that here. Virtual reality, you put your glasses on and then you look around and you see the whole virtual lab. Emotional intelligence, which is very hard to catch. I'll tell you that later. Tablets. So whatever you do here, you can boom, it goes to all the students. Get them interested, get them involved. Smartphone, cameras, clickers, and so if you have a new technology that you want to integrate, a new evolution of technologies, you give us, you put them in this Internet of Teaching element, and then as you are a lecturer, how you interact with these tools will tell you whether you're effective or not. Okay, so how you interact with these tools will tell you whether you're effective or not. I'll give you a very simple example, then I'll finish. Like if you're a doctor, you have a stethoscope, the one that you measure, you have a thermometer, you have a number of tools all laying around here. If you use those tools, then effectively you get a good result. If you have a thermometer but you don't use it, it's not good. So we have all the resources that you want, everything. Bloom's taxonomy, solo, responsive reporting, real-time. So if you want other things, you can add them in. Now it's your job to use them. How you use them will tell us whether you've done your job properly or not. And then you complement that with the student's results. So your student results should reflect your teaching. There's no bias now. So all of these are redundant now with this software. Nobody has to come into the class like they evaluated me all the time, every year. Somebody checks in, check boxes. Nobody's monitoring you. You don't teach them to the test. You don't put a video camera, There is a video camera, but it has a different things in it. So all these current methods, you don't need to do it. All of these are time expensive, time consuming. Our method is automatic. So we're not developing a new management system. Everybody says, oh, another learning management system. No, it isn't. Believe me, it isn't. It's not like Moodle. Moodle is you upload the courses, they download the courses, there's no analytics. All analytics is that these are the courses and these are the things that you have to teach. You plan your things in Moodle, but you don't get analytics. It's not a student management system, learning management system, student information system, content management system, school management system, any of these. None of these. So it's none of that. PowerPoint, they don't do any of what we are talking about. It's very scalable. Again, like I said, blended learning, classroom learning, adaptable with any kind of teaching methodology like Socrates. Socrates now is a beautiful method. You don't just tell them, oh, this is a book, this is a pen. No. You ask them, what do you think this is? You ask them, get them involved, and then you progress. That method is being captured while you teach them. That's the beauty. Who benefits? All these people. Parents, they get real report after every lecture. Students, they get real feedback. Oh, this is what's supposed to be covered. I've done this, blah, 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 and you get the result. Teachers, you get feedback and say, oh, I didn't cover this last lecture. The deans and the head, they can compare same course being taught by two different people. What's his strategy? What's his strategy? Which is more effective? You correlate that with the results. President, CEO, and the ministries. This is how it looks. These are the reports, real time. I won't go through that. For example, post coverage, which we talked about. Okay? Quality of coverage, which is a combination of different things. And then learning outcome coverage, Bloom's taxonomy, and then you can drill down, you can go through the basic level. Here's a teacher effectiveness comparison. Like all these teachers are teaching. This is real result, by the way. This is real results. This is real results. And you can see my name is there also. Professor Izhar Haq. I'm ashamed to say that, to be honest. This is real result. My performance was 11%. I swear to God. My performance after 25 years of teaching from University of Cambridge, which is one of the top, okay, in physics, my performance in teaching was 11%. You know why? Because I can abuse the system. I know how I can teach, how I can get away with it. Nobody caught me. I shouldn't say that on the camera, but this is a fact. So I was teaching a course, and this is my performance. The other teacher's performance, you can see, is nowhere near what you expect. You know why? Because they're too busy with other things, administrative work. So the poor teachers, I feel sorry for them. Really, I feel so sorry for them. They're doing such a hard job, such an important job, but they're not being awarded with something that they really deserve. They need feedback. If I was given a feedback, oh, you didn't, I would have fixed the problem before I got this result. So this is real results, and that's your effectiveness. Yeah. All the KPIs. Like if I say you're a good student, you're a businessman, and you have to produce these results. They will give you a list of KPIs, your milestones, and deliverables. If you meet all those KPIs, you're a good teacher. So those 24 KPIs, if you meet at least 80%, 90%, you're good. If you don't, it will tell you, oh, all KPIs are good except for this one. You do, your institution. And they are basic, they're standards, international standard like course coverage, the learning outcome, the PLOs, the CLOs, your method of teaching. The pedagogy is the best one. I'll show you that now, which is amazing results. When I went to America, University of Pennsylvania, they loved that. I'll show you that. It's really good. Here's another one, student feedback now. You see, it's very hard for me to talk about this until we fix our problem, the teacher's problem. Then the student will be okay. But anyway, here's a real feedback. So the student learning outcome 1, very good, not very good, okay, average. And then it tells you that these are the problems, these are the areas, this is where the slide is, what you've done, blah, blah, blah. You can drill down. Now you don't need to go, the student, they don't need to come to your office knocking on the door, saying, I didn't understand that. Can you tell me what chapter was this? Where do I find this? Automatically given that. Now when I teach, I go like 30, 40 students in each class. They come to me, Imagine, student knocking on your door, I didn't understand. Can you explain that to me? I said, go and read chapter 2. I don't need to do that anymore. Automatically, the student will get the feedback, you are weak in this one, go to slide number 4, chapter number 3, so on. So it gives you all the things that the student need to fix their problem before they come to you. Okay, automatically. There's another one, lecture effectiveness improvement. Okay, this is done on a very small scale, so it's not really representative, but it's still a very good result. Before usage, after using the system, this is more than 100% improvement. People say, how can you improve 100% within one? You can. If you know somebody's watching you all the time instead of once a semester or 2, and these video cameras are working, but who's going to evaluate that? You're careless. But if you know somebody's watching you, everything that you're doing in the class being, recorded without you knowing, it's at the back. So the big brother is watching you, without interfering with your teaching. You improve suddenly because you make sure that you do deliver properly. So you can see the improvement, rapid improvement. Okay, so that means the KPIs were not covered properly. Here, everything is covered nicely. Still, 63 is not brilliant because they have to be trained how to use the system effectively. It's like being a doctor. If you don't know how to use a stethoscope, you could be looking here, looking here, looking here. So they have to be trained. Here's another one, lecture feedback. So this is one lecture teaching so many courses. Again, these are random results we've done without telling the teacher. You can see the effectiveness of each of the course. Like this guy taught this course very good. Maybe he enjoys that course, so he puts more effort in. The other courses are pathetic, 21%. Is that fair to the student? No. If I knew that my daughter goes to a school where they're teaching like this, I would never send them. I'd never give them money. So now the teachers are teaching, one teacher teaching these courses, this is their effectiveness. But now we can capture that after every, so maybe he's a good teacher, but he needs feedback continuously, and then they can improve. Student learning outcome, each of the students, what they achieved in the learning outcomes, automatically valuable. This is very hard, but it's a very important concept. It's called social emotional learning. It's a very important concept. Social. There are 3 kinds of learnings. Academic. You pass exam. Social learning. Like now I talk to you, you talk to me, not one way. You talk to your friends, you collaborate with them, group exercise, that's social. How do you socialize? Emotional. How do you work under stress? Are you a leader? For example, are you a caring person? Are you an entrepreneur that you think differently? Are you a leader? Are you very methodical? Do you have good soft skills? Yeah. Can you work under stress? Are you a team player? So these are social and emotional learning, not academic learning. Academic learning is easy. You give them exam, right and wrong. But do I know that this guy is very sociable? He's very good. He can be a good leader? No, you don't know. So we capture social and emotional learning also, but that takes time. It doesn't give you real-time data. It gives you after 1 semester, 2 semesters. So your profile is being built up. Companies, they love this kind of work, like Google, Yahoo, all these, because they want to know, okay, this guy is very good academically. He's got all A's. This guy doesn't know how to be a leader. He doesn't know how to manage a project. He's fantastic academically, so they know where to put him. But if they find one guy is very good at leader, but he's got B's and C's, this guy's got exactly good skills in leadership. Wow. They know exactly where to put this guy in. So I think this is the most important one in today's age. academic, we've been doing it for 200 years, 2,000 years, learning different methodologies, but finding out social and emotional characteristics, flipped classroom, another one which is very common now. This is the final slide, so I know I've taken too much of your time. This is like a beautiful concept, practical thing now. How do you understand the different strategies of different teachers, how they teach the same subject? For example, if you're teaching economics, or you're teaching physics, or teaching chemistry, and there's one element, learning outcome 2. So let's say 5 teachers are teaching the same topic. One in Tallinn University, one in Tartu University, one in Sweden, one in America. So 4 teachers teaching at different places. Same theory. The syllabus might be the same because same campus. Generally, the syllabus on the same subject, more or less the same. Like computer engineering here would be the same in the UK. Slight different learning outcome. So these guys, how they taught the learning outcome 2. Or you can do, how did they taught learning outcome 1? Or how did they taught this group discussion? Or how did they taught this case study? Or how did they participated in this? So you can break it down to the basic element. So take this example. This is me teaching learning outcome 2. I use how many different elements within the internet of elements, learning elements? I got 1, 2, 3, 4. To teach the same concept, I use 4 with the time. How much time I spent on each aspect of that element. Okay? Another guy, Dr. Fuster, he taught 1, 2, he used 3 different methods. Those elements, those network of elements, he used different methods to teach the same concept. This guy only used 2 methods. This guy used 1, 2, 3 methods, 4 methods. This guy used 2 methods. And the timing, how much they spent to teach that subject. This guy spent 30 to 40 minutes, so 12 minutes. This guy spent 12 minutes, by the way, automatically. You can do a search. Okay, give me all the people who have taught this course and how did they cover learning outcome 3. You get it. So 30 plus 42 minus 30, 12 minutes. 40, 12 minutes. Yeah. 20, 35, 50 minutes, and so on. It gives you timing, time you spend. This guy used the whiteboard first, explain the concept, and that's been captured also by evidence is being captured. What did you do on the whiteboard? This is Professor Mazzeo. It's called peer instructions. So we added his technology into this. Peer instruction. So there are 2 guys sitting together, they interact with one another, that's been captured. So I spent like 3 minutes on it. And then I give them group-based learning. Then I give them a quiz. So all the different elements on the internet is being joined together, how effectively my method of teaching to use all the tools that I have at my disposal. This guy used the whiteboard, student participation. He asked the question, okay, can you answer? And that's been recorded by you. What did you do? And so and then I gave them a quiz. So I didn't use this method, I used a different method. This guy is more traditional, you can tell. Blackboard and whiteboard. Blackboard means you explain the theory, whiteboard means you write. So this is traditional method, like I can tell immediately, he doesn't like technologies. So we have to work on this guy. This guy used whiteboard, student participation, whiteboard, and peer instruction. And the last guy used an app on the laptop, on the iPhone app. So the class teacher used the apps for 10 minutes and with a whiteboard. So every activity on that internet of teaching element, how you interact with it will tell you how effective you are. And then you correlate this with the students' results, which is the second. Yeah, sorry. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Questions, discussions.
Maybe question first, then we'll show you a little bit demo of the software.
Thank you very much for the stage. We understand the introduction. Is it possible to formalize everything? The key position is regarding the measures that try to avoid such a thing. But know that when you are living in the danger that you are measuring this kind of things that are easy to measure. Other things which very learning outcomes that are very easy to understand in applications and I think very simple outcomes. Which we say and also regarding assessment of teachers. This indicates how we are talking about two approaches. Low impulse assessment of teaching and high impulse assessment of teaching. And the debate is going on because if you are using low impulse assessment, then it's easy to find. How you speak, especially suggestion concerns avoid such a thing. Is it possible? Complete.
Yeah. I think that's a very excellent question. Nothing is 100% to be honest. Yeah. I would say, based on the KPIs that we formulated, which are the most important ones, that 90% of that teaching important subjectivity has been eliminated by this. That 10% will be in the social and emotional. That one we are struggling with. Because we have one presentation tomorrow, they're putting a cat with sensors in it to find out the stress level of teacher while they teach. So that interpretation could also be used in social emotional learning of the students. So the subjectivity, they are maybe 10%, but learning outcome, which is very important, you can formalize that. Course coverage, you can formalize that. Group discussion, you can formalize that. The pedagogy you use, the different style of teaching, you can quantify that. So all the ones that we can quantify, they come to about 90%. The 10%, I might be wrong, I don't know, to be honest. That 10%, that subjectivity, in my opinion, is coming from social, emotional learning. So three kinds of academic, we can quantify it. We have mathematical formulas that quantify, that correlate using neural networks, using different algorithms that, does inferences, like weather forecasts, you can't be 100% right. But generally speaking, we've captured that. There's a huge mathematics behind that. But the 10% which we have problem with is social emotion. That takes time. And that could really be subjective. No, the significance is 90%. It has massive weight. Like the first thing they tell you, learning outcome. We cover that. The weightage is learning outcome. The second one is the pedagogy. That one is the. So that 10%, even in terms of absolute value, the 90% carries the 90% of the weight, 10% carries the 10%. But yeah, very, very good question. Thank you.
I have a question regarding the automation. I'm doing my PhD studies in the field of teacher education, and I'm implementing the e-book portfolio that is enriched with learning analytics that the student teachers can use in their internship to ask feedback from the supervisors. And the feedback is presented to them in two ways. They receive the narrative feedback from the supervisors, and they also receive automated feedback that is based on their system forward. And the results show that the student teachers, they don't actually value their automated feedback. They say that it is not personal enough, and when they receive the same feedback over and over again, they find it to be demotivating. So they value more the narrative feedback from the supervisors. So can you comment on this?
Yeah, again, very, very good question. Any narrative is good because you get a feeling of how they think. If it's checkboxes, you don't really feel attached to it. But if it's a narrative, that means you can really think how the students are thinking and then make an effort to tell us about our history. So I would accept that the narrative is good. Automatic feedback, in my opinion, should be done. That it shouldn't be on the burden on the teacher to be able to get the feedback. The system itself should be such that you get feedback which is automatic, which is checkboxes, which is narrative, and which is broad. So all of these elements, I think, they culminate into giving very good results on really those evaluation of the student of the teacher. I'll give you one example of what we do. From my experience is this, when you give evaluation in the middle of the semester or the end of the semester, the students tend to already develop a view of teaching. So if you give them bad results over one semester, the chances are they will also not give. So to overcome that, you have to give them spontaneous evaluation in every lecture. It's a bit tricky to understand spontaneous evaluation after every lecture, for example. But this evaluation is not a very long list of, did you understand the lecture? So it should not take them more than 1 minute or 2 minutes. And how do you put the questions in? It has to be done in a very methodical way that when you get all of it together, you can form an opinion about the student. So I'll give you an example. I give a lecture now. At the end of the lecture, as soon as I finish the lecture, there would be a small pop-up that goes to all the students on their iPad or their mobile, saying, today, did you understand the lecture? That's it. Finished. After one lecture. So normally we have about 16 lectures at the university. In a school, we have 50 lectures. So the question that you draft out should get different type of feedback, which is based on psychology. You can't just put a question in and then think that, it will give a good interpretation. It has to be done properly. Another question you would be surprised would be, did you come in the class on time? Another lecture. So maybe after one lecture, you ask different questions to different students, not the same question, because then they will share the information. So random question after this goes to the student and they answer that. Now I'll give you an example. If the student says, yes, I came on time, this system has already recorded that this guy came late. So you find out that dishonesty about the student, or whether this student is good, he comes on time. So there's a number of characteristics that you build up in the question. So that when there are 50 questions, you can have maybe 2 questions after the presentation. So now you have 100 questions done over the whole semester. What you find is this. In the beginning of the class, in the beginning of the semester, the student gives you very good occasion. Because they don't know you. So they feel good, you feel good, and everything is good because you haven't given them any marks. As you progress, you find a weak student, good student, bad student, you start giving them praise in the quiz. When you give them a quiz, this student doesn't, this student lazy. You form your opinion about the student. When you grade them, they start also answering the question in a funny way. So you will see tendency, good student will continue going like that. The average student, they will improve, fluctuate. The bad student, first very good results, and then they will not give you very good results. They will not praise you in a good way. So you will see a decline in that. So asking the questions about how to formulate the question, when to give the question, how frequently to give the question. It's a whole science itself. My student in Dubai, we give them right at the end of the semester, and now we give them 2 times, one in the middle, one at the end. You know what they do? They just do formality checks without reading it. You know? So we try to change the order of, but to analyze that and then make inference. No, doesn't matter. So it has to be done in a very systematic way that you see the real result, not doing it just as formalities. Just because I need a feedback. There's a whole psychology behind asking the right question. And in one class, we can do narrative. We can say, okay, describe the learning outcome if you really understood it. Or, can you explain the clarity of the lecture? I'm not very good at designing questions. It's not my job. But psychologists, they know how to interpret the question and what kind of question you should write. So it's a very complex topic. So all kind of feedback is good, but how do you get the right feedback and how do you correlate that? That is worth a PhD. It's a PhD in its own. How do you draw up the questions, and then how do you correlate that? One, the student is good. We don't understand the dynamics of it. We don't know. We're still doing research on this. That when we give after this lecture, suddenly I don't do nothing. Once the lecture is finished, the system automatically sends a question, a simple question. Is the weather alright today? What kind of question is that? Was seduction with this?